A true media earthquake erupted when Cassie Ventura, former girlfriend of Sean P. Diddy Combs, stood before the courtroom, quietly but resolutely recounting the dark days she endured over more than a decade, tied to one of the most powerful names in the entertainment industry. No longer the dazzling figure on stage, no longer the Hollywood spotlight, Cassie appeared before the public as a living witness to the cruelty, control, and abuse she claimed to have suffered at the hands of the very man who once publicly loved her. She recounted that their relationship was a prison with no escape, where every action, emotion, and even thought of hers was controlled through both physical violence and psychological warfare. She was forced to have sex with strangers at freak-offs, sex parties orchestrated, filmed, monitored, and even manipulated by Diddy himself. On multiple occasions, she was beaten so severely she had to be hospitalized, but was forced to remain silent to protect the reputation of the music mogul. A shocking detail released by the FBI was a 2016 security video recording showing Diddy attacking Cassie violently in the hallway of a luxury hotel in Los Angeles, repeatedly punching her head, pulling her hair, then walking away as if nothing had happened. The video was considered irrefutable evidence, silencing the courtroom, with many shedding tears while watching. Cassie said she had been put into a state of permanent panic, threatened if she dared to share private matters or attempt to leave. She revealed that Diddy had said, "You will never get away. If you betray me, no one will ever find your body." Cassie's testimony opened a horrifying door into a world of violence and control few dared to believe existed behind the glittering curtain of the entertainment industry. A series of other witnesses later confirmed seeing signs of abuse on her body for years, but out of fear of Diddy's power and connections, no one dared to speak up. Even more horrifying was that Cassie was not alone. Her testimony paved the way for over 80 other victims to come forward, sparking a cascade of lawsuits and criminal investigations across multiple states, including similar allegations from male and underage victims. But it was precisely Cassie's courage to confront the silence, once buried deep, that seemed to open the door to justice. Now, no one can pretend not to see, no one can continue to cover up. From a controlled victim, she has become a torchbearer leading one of the largest movements exposing abuse of power in modern music history, possibly an irreversible turning point for both the career and freedom of P. Diddy. If Cassie Ventura's testimony ignited a nationwide tsunami of outrage, the next chapter in uncovering the truth was even more shocking, as other witnesses began to speak out, exposing a different portrait of Sean P. Diddy Combs, no longer the powerful music producer, but a violent brute with extreme tendencies, ready to threaten the lives of anyone who dared to oppose him. One of the most jaw-dropping testimonies that nearly silenced the courtroom came from singer Dawn Richard, former member of Diddy Kane, who stood alongside Diddy under the reality show Making the Band. Without hesitation, Dawn recounted a terrifying incident at Diddy's private mansion, where she witnessed him grab Cassie by the head, dragging her up the stairs in a rage, shouting, "I could kill her right now. No one would dare stop me." On another occasion, Cassie was struck with a cast-iron skillet, a weapon unimaginable in a romantic relationship between two celebrities. Dawn affirmed that it was not just once, but many times she saw Cassie with bruises, vacant eyes, and fear that could not be hidden. Even more terrifying was the absolute control Diddy imposed on this woman. He ordered the crew not to speak to Cassie without his permission and even forbade staff from looking her in the eye. Anyone who violated these unwritten rules was either fired or mysteriously disappeared from all company activities. In recent trials, the FBI revealed that Diddy had installed surveillance cameras even in the most private areas of his mansion, including guest bedrooms, with all data encrypted and stored separately for control and use when necessary. The cycle of violence did not stop with Cassie. One of the most haunting incidents involved rapper Kid Cudi, who testified that he had a relationship with Cassie during her temporary separation from Diddy. Shortly afterward, Kid Cudi's Porsche exploded suddenly right outside his home in Los Angeles. Initially considered an accident, the FBI revealed that an anonymous witness confirmed Diddy had ordered the car to be set on fire as a direct warning. "No one touches my woman." In court, Kid Cudi's lawyer presented an anonymous email sent just before the explosion stating, "Don't try a second time. Next time, it won't be the car." These details were incorporated by federal investigators into files suggesting the formation of an organized network of threats and violence, lasting many years, with signs of cover-ups and coordination between Combs' close assistants and security personnel. Each detail pieced together painted an increasingly grim picture of a music empire that seemed invincible, but was in fact built on violence, control, and intimidation. The question was not only what Diddy had done, but why so many people knew, yet no one dared speak out. It is precisely this silence, this tacit protection, that truly shook people's hearts as the dark layers of the case were gradually exposed. The deeper the investigation, the clearer it became. This was no longer a personal lawsuit between two former lovers, but a battle for justice between victims and an entire system that enabled, ignored, or feared the power of a man ready to deal with anyone who dared step into the light. If the testimonies from Gacy Ventura and other victims who once had close relationships with Diddy sparked a public uproar over the brutality of his physical and mental abuse, then the next part of the investigation opens an even darker door, where Diddy is not just an abuser in intimate relationships, but also a figure willing to strike back, threaten, and attack anyone who dares cross the safety boundary he set for himself. Not just women, not just ex-lovers, but friends, colleagues, business partners, and even strangers who dared to speak out against him could all become targets in this chain of threatening and destructive behavior. In a file released by the FBI in early 2025, rapper and producer Lil Rod, real name Rodney Jones, emerged as one of the key witnesses, with his testimony triggering a series of assault accusations Diddy is now facing. According to Lil Rod, during over a year working under Combs Global, he repeatedly witnessed his boss physically assault employees, scream at assistants, and destroy property simply for disobedience or delayed compliance. At a party in Miami, Lil Rod claimed that Diddy struck a man over the head with a liquor bottle just because the man looked at Gacy for too long. That man did not file a lawsuit. He was compensated behind the scenes with a six-figure sum and vanished from the media radar. Another assistant was once forced to kneel in the middle of the living room during a private party, had a cocktail thrown in his face by Diddy, along with humiliating insults for forgetting an iPad that contained private videos. The threats did not end with individual outbursts. In a series of civil documents recently revealed, Diddy is accused of hiring people to stalk and intimidate former victims if they intended to cooperate with the police or press. One anonymous model recounted that after refusing a proposal to entertain guests at a party held in a Las Vegas penthouse, she began receiving threatening messages from unknown numbers such as, "We know where you live, don't play with your life," and even a photo of her car with slashed tires sent via email just days later. She described the terrifying moment she discovered her home security cameras had been disabled during a rainy night, exactly 1 week after she shared her story with an independent journalist. Another shocking case came from the testimony of a former bodyguard named Malik Thompson, who had served Diddy for more than 7 years. Malik revealed that he was once ordered to handle a former business partner who was preparing to sue Diddy's company for breach of contract. Handle, according to Malik, meant surveilling, threatening, and, if necessary, roughing him up enough so he wouldn't open his mouth again. Malik refused to comply, and just 1 week later, he was fired, and his wife received a phone call warning, "Keep your husband silent." Fearing for his family's safety, Malik remained silent for nearly 5 years, until he saw Gacy speak out. The tight connection between personal violence and an organized campaign of intimidation that Diddy is accused of has painted a chilling full picture, where power, money, and fame were turned into tools of control, fear, and suppression of any opposition. When connecting all the previous parts, from Gacy's physical and mental abuse to the car bombing incident involving Kid Cudi, and now the attacks on other individuals, a behavioral pattern becomes increasingly clear. These were not impulsive outbursts, but a deliberate strategy to maintain Diddy's empire through fear. Now, As each victim bravely steps into the light, the power structure that Diddy painstakingly built over more than 2 decades may be starting to crumble brick by brick, not because of a single verdict, but because too many truths are being exposed at once, making it impossible for anyone to keep looking the other way. And with what continues to be revealed, the world may have only just seen the tip of the iceberg named Sean Combs. While the public is still reeling from the allegations of physical abuse, assaults, and life-threatening intimidation that Diddy is facing, another dark layer continues to unfold. This time not targeting ex-lovers or rivals, but the very employees who stood by his side every day in his mansions, studios, tour venues, and the executive offices of Combs Global. According to court filings in the federal lawsuit brought by Rodney Lil Rod Jones and other witnesses, Diddy didn't just control the private lives of his lovers. He created a work environment likened to a hidden prison where freedom, dignity, and mental safety of his staff were completely suffocated. Lil Rod detailed the extent of the strict control over employment terms. Personal assistants, bodyguards, drivers, and even technical staff were forced to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, that lasted for life. Their personal phones were regularly subjected to unannounced inspections. Security cameras were installed in every area, not just in the mansions, but also in music studios, offices, and vacation homes. And there were even fake blind spots designed to deceive others into thinking certain areas weren't under surveillance. One female assistant, anonymous in court records, recounted being forced to wear tight clothing and go topless while serving at a private party for VIP guests. When she refused, Diddy smashed his glass on the floor and shouted in front of dozens of people, "You're not a person, you belong to me." No one dared to intervene. No one dared to make eye contact with him. But the greatest fear did not come from yelling or verbal abuse. It stemmed from the financial power and protective network that Diddy possessed. Former employees described being blacklisted from all other career opportunities in the music industry the moment they left the company as Diddy's old associates, many of whom are entertainment moguls, were notified that this person is a traitor. A sound technician who secretly recorded a session between Diddy and a mentally unstable female artist, as evidence reported that, just 2 weeks later, all his personal equipment, laptop, hard drives, phone, was stolen right from the office without a trace. He never recovered the data and never worked in the industry again. The control didn't stop at professional life. Several female employees testified that they were forced to accompany Diddy on international trips as secretaries and personal attendants. They were not informed of their itineraries, weren't allowed to keep their passports, and if they showed fatigue or refused to serve guests, they were summoned to private rooms for retraining on loyalty. One woman recounted being held in a Los Angeles mansion for 3 days without a phone or contact with loved ones, simply because she skipped work while sick. She said she had to sign a waiver promising not to sue in order to be released, and was given $5,000 along with a warning. If you open your mouth, all the videos of you will be released. These details are no longer mere leaks. They have surfaced in official court records, interviews with protected witnesses, and especially in a series of investigative reports now being closely monitored by the FBI. When pieced together with earlier revelations from Diddy's alleged abuse of Gacy to assaults on others to orchestrated intimidation, a clearer pattern of manipulation begins to emerge. These were not isolated actions of a hot-tempered celebrity, but a dense power structure built over years, where absolute obedience was traded for the survival of a career, a reputation, even a life. Now, as more and more former employees step into the light, each new testimony further reinforces the concrete wall of truth closing in on Diddy. No longer rumors, no longer backstage gossip, but a horrifying panorama of power used to control, abuse, and silence. And with each brave voice rising, the once untouchable empire is beginning to tremble day by day. While the public has yet to recover from the wave of allegations involving abuse of power, physical violence, employee control, and threats to life, another dark branch of Diddy's empire continues to be exposed: the constant and frightening presence of drugs and illegal weapons in his daily life. Not merely part of a depraved lifestyle, These elements are believed to be tools used for control, intimidation, and to create an atmosphere of fear surrounding P. Diddy, turning each party into a psychological execution and every room in his mansion into a maze with no escape for those who step inside. According to documents submitted to the court and federal investigation reports, for over a decade, private parties at Diddy's mansions in Miami, Los Angeles, and New York frequently involved the presence of cocaine, ecstasy, MDMA, and even stronger synthetic stimulants, especially ketamine. Witnesses testified that not only were guests invited to use these substances, but sometimes young girls selected to attend the parties were drugged without their knowledge. An anonymous woman recounted that after drinking a cocktail handed to her directly by Diddy's assistant, she began to lose control, became mentally blurred, and woke up 14 hours later naked, with no memory of what had happened, and was threatened that if she spoke out, "You'll never find your own body." It wasn't just drugs. Weapons were also part of the fear Diddy instilled. Many former employees and witnesses, including friends or collaborating artists, confirmed that he frequently carried a handgun and, on several occasions, used it to threaten others. In a shocking incident described in Lil Rod's lawsuit, one night at the Beverly Hills mansion, Diddy allegedly pulled a gun and pointed it directly at a young artist's head after the artist refused to agree to appear in a sexually explicit and drug-fueled video. Diddy shouted, "You think this is Hollywood? This is my world." Federal agents, during a search of Diddy's private residences this past March, seized numerous items, including unregistered weapons, a large amount of white powder suspected to be cocaine, and several unidentified compounds stored in double-locked wooden boxes. Some footage retrieved from the internal security camera system also showed famous guests using drugs and engaging in group sexual acts under the influence. Especially alarming was the revelation that Diddy had a soundproof private room, accessible only via fingerprint, believed to be the center of bizarre rituals combining BDSM, drugs, and psychological control. These puzzle pieces are no longer disjointed. From physical abuse to witness intimidation, employee control, and now the use of illicit substances and weapons, all paint a complete and terrifying portrait of a powerful man living in a world without rules or limits. There is no longer any doubt that these behaviors are not just the result of a decadent lifestyle, but deliberate tools, meant to control, terrify, and crush any will to resist. Those who stepped into that world all carry the same fear. If you don't follow Diddy's rules, you won't just lose your career, you might lose your life. The deeper the investigators dig, the clearer it becomes that the glamorous wall surrounding Diddy for all these years is merely a thin shell hiding a network of power, drugs, violence, and systematic manipulation, operated by the silence of insiders and protection from outside forces. But now, as the secrets begin to unravel, the biggest question is no longer what happened, but why was it allowed to continue for so long without anyone stopping it? And that, truly, is Hollywood's worst nightmare. The P. Diddy case has become the focus of a horrific and unprecedented investigation as the latest evidence reveals one of the most shocking and heartbreaking crimes in the American entertainment industry: sexual abuse of men and minors. Not only does it involve allegations of physical and emotional violence, but the case now also uncovers a sophisticated and cruel criminal network where the victims are young boys underage, lured by false promises of career opportunities and fame, only to be quickly drawn into a dark vortex of power, threats, and coercion. According to collected testimonies, many teenagers were taken to private parties, where they were forced to use drugs and alcohol and then endured unimaginable sexual abuse from P. Diddy himself and his close associates in the showbiz world. Brave witnesses have detailed the secret rooms with disabled surveillance cameras, where the children were isolated and psychologically manipulated to prevent them from escaping the clutches of crime. Some victims even reported being constantly monitored and threatened if they dared to reveal any information, from ruining their careers to direct threats to their lives. Federal investigators have confirmed the existence of audio and video recordings documenting the criminal acts, turning the case from a mere accusation into undeniable evidence. The situation is even more shocking as some victims are minors selected from performing arts training centers, taken to various major cities on tour, where the dazzling stage lights serve merely as a mask concealing the silent criminal acts taking place. Moreover, the criminal network has expanded internationally with allegations related to the trafficking of children to distant locations for dark purposes, sending shivers down the spines of officials and the public alike. More notably, details about the complicity and protection from members of Diddy's team and other powerful figures have been revealed, indicating that the case is not just a story about an individual, but a complex combination of a corrupt system and abuse of power within the entertainment industry. The involvement of the FBI and international investigative agencies in the case has opened up hope for victims whose voices have been stifled, while also raising stricter demands for the protection of vulnerable individuals and transparency in the world's leading entertainment activities. The connections between the elements of the case have left the public in shock, from allegations of physical abuse, psychological control, and the use of illegal substances to acts of sexual abuse targeting vulnerable groups. All of this paints a dark picture of the entertainment industry that few dare to mention. This case is not only a wake-up call, but also a call for justice and change, aimed at ending the hidden crimes lurking in the shadows of fame. The brave victims who have come forward to speak the truth are opening a new chapter in the fight for truth and justice, putting an end to the silence and cover-ups that have persisted for too long in the arts community. The Diddy case is gradually revealing one of the most complex and dangerous organized sexual abuse networks in the history of the entertainment industry, as evidence and testimonies from victims and witnesses show that this is not an individual act, but a criminal system operated with planning, sophistication, and involving many people within showbiz as well as other powerful figures. This network is systematically organized, with links ranging from leaders to accomplices, intermediaries, and individuals responsible for controlling, manipulating, and forcing young victims, mostly males and minors, to serve dark activities disguised as parties, entertainment services, or career opportunities. The gatherings and venues are kept strictly secret, from luxurious mansions and high-end hotels to secret rooms in restaurants, studios, or even on major tours. Shocking testimonies from some former members of the network reveal that anyone who disobeys or dares to disclose information is threatened with extreme measures, including serious violent acts to silence and maintain secrecy. Investigation documents reveal that this system also uses drugs, illegal weapons, and other sophisticated coercive methods to control the victims' minds, turning them into hostages in the hands of criminals. The FBI has confirmed the discovery of numerous documents, audio recordings, and videos capturing the network's illegal activities, proving the existence of a deliberately organized system on a large scale. Moreover, the network is believed to have been covertly protected by multiple sides, including those with power in the entertainment and political sectors, creating an invisible wall preventing the truth from being exposed for many years. Bringing the case to light has been a major victory for justice, but the journey to dismantle this criminal network remains long and challenging, requiring strong coordination from authorities and the community. The close interconnection between the parts of the case, from individual violence and sexual abuse to controlling and operating an organized criminal network, creates a dark overall picture, revealing severe corruption within the entertainment industry that few dare to confront.